What's up, guys? 11:19 on Friday morning. As you can see, I need to shave this dome and I need to shave this face because I look pretty scruffy. But I wanted to make this video because something that's been really bothering me for the last couple weeks, and that's on the video I made regarding patience in bodybuilding. Relax, slow down, and progress is going to take time. It's going to take years to get better and better to develop a good physique. And one of the comments I saw in there kind of really bothered me, sincerely bothered me. And the comment was train for 24 years to look like this. Not gonna happen. Been lifting for 4 years, and as this video shows, it's not much improvement is to be expected after the first years. This video opened my eyes on what is achievable naturally, never gonna look big, and now I'm really tempted to jump on a cycle. So, um, to kind of put it in perspective here, natural bodybuilders, in general, you're not going to see too many of them over 200 pounds, shredded. It's just not the way. It's just not that way. I've done many NPC shows. I grew up in the NPC in the early 90s. There was no natural bodybuilding in my area back in the early 90s, mid 90s. So I was relegated to do shows that weren't tested, and that happened to be NPC. And sure, I was competing against guys that were on cycles or on, drugs. Now, for sure, frustrating in the beginning. Here, I was a small dude. I wasn't placing. I mean, I placed okay, but I wasn't winning shows, and I wasn't placing first in a lot of NPC shows back then. And frustrating, yes, but I never uh, went against my beliefs, my values. My values obviously are going to be different than everybody else's. I don't judge people who happens to be on cycles. That's their choice. Who am I to judge what they do? But just for me personally, um, I'm just happy with the choices I made, and you also have to look at that. Um, when I grew up in bodybuilding, as far as in the early 90s, I followed IFBB. I followed Dorian Yates. I was a big Dorian Yates fan. I followed Kevin Levrone. I followed Sean Ray, Flex Wheeler, um, all those guys. Uh, Nasser El Somebody, all those big names of the 90s. And the thing is they weren't too much older than I was. They were a few years older, sure, but we're relatively the same age. And here we are, fast forward to the year 2013, and all those guys I just mentioned, they're not on a bodybuilding stage anymore, whereas I still am. So the thing is, yes, you get on a cycle, you're gonna look huge, but it's the longevity you got to think about. Is it worth looking huge just for a short amount of time, or is it better to um, not do, not get on cycles, not do that other route? The other route, not the natural route. Is it better to stay natural and develop a good physique over time that you'll definitely be able to enjoy for long periods of time and still be able to compete, not only on a natural bodybuilding stage, because I've made it to the top of my sport at the Yorton Cup World Championships at the age of 40, but I've also competed with the NPC at the age of 40. And although I didn't win in overall, I still was in the overall, and I actually got a couple first place votes. So the question is, yeah, okay, maybe I'll never be. It's not even a question. It's a fact. Yeah, maybe I'll never be huge or monstrous, but I developed a pretty symmetrical physique. I've developed pretty mature muscle, and I get shredded for shows. And there's more to bodybuilding than just looking huge. Um, there's symmetry, there's conditioning, muscle maturity, which is another word for development, and presentation, posing, and also longevity, which patience comes into play. And not only have I enjoyed the early 90s, I've enjoyed the year 2000 all the way to 2010, 2013, and I'm still going to enjoy uh, competing when I'm probably in my 50s. I keep saying maybe I won't compete past I'm 50, but if I'm still looking good, like for example Dave Gooden, why not? So that's the thing is if you're young and you make that choice to jump on a cycle, um, sure, it's you're gonna get big, you're gonna get bigger. Sure, you may get huge, but how long? How long is that gonna last for? Um, again, Dorian Yates didn't last forever. Kevin Levrone didn't last forever. Sean Ray's not on stage forever. Nasser's not on stage forever, and the list goes on and on and on. But look at natural bodybuilders. Dave Gooden still competing. He's in his 50s. Um, Look at Philip Ricardo Jr. He's the same age as me, right around the early 40s, still competing, top of the sport. Kiyoshi Moody, 40, still competing. So again, it just goes to show that this sport is natural bodybuilding. It takes time, and yes, sure, you're not going to see mass monsters, but you're going to see guys who get in incredibly great shape, albeit not humongous, but great shape, shredded condition, and they could do it for long periods of time. They could keep doing this when they're older. So here I am. I'm going to be 42. June 20th, I'll be 42. The next time I'll get on stage, I'll be 43, and I'll probably be better than I was at 40. So to that guy who said, you know, hey, that's all you're going to progress over the years, is that you're never going to look huge. Well, I don't know. It's a question you're going to have to answer. Is you want to look huge temporarily? Probably, more than likely. It's not going to last forever. Or are you going to take it slow, take it conservative, keep your health intact, and really have a long, long career, so, or a long time doing this sport. So that's the question, and hopefully this helps somebody out there. This is just my perspective. I know probably some people will probably disagree with it, which is totally fine. This is just how I see my path and the way I see things. Whether people agree with me, not agree with me, it's totally fine. It's okay. I'm not gonna debate anybody in the comments below. If whatever you guys feel like you want to comment, that's fine. But I'm gonna go ahead and replay the NPC San Francisco from 2011, where I was able to hang with the big boys, non-tested show at the age of 40. And then also, I just want to say that back in 2006, when I was 35 and about 15 pounds lighter, I actually almost won that overall as well. I got I think I had 2 or 3 first place votes, and I missed the overall by 2 points. So just goes to show that natural bodybuilders, sure, in the beginning you may not be able to hang with the big boys, but over time, um, you could hang with the big boys. And back when I competed in the early 90s against the NPC guys, um, I don't think I've ran into any more of those athletes I've competed against 15 years later. I don't know where they are. So anyways, let's go to that video. Alright, so here is the open overall of the NPC San Francisco in 2011. I had I won my class, the middleweight class. That's me right there in the middle. And then my brother's to the far right, who happens to be the bantamweight winner. And at this time, he was 45 years old. And you can see again, he's had a long career. He's shredded. Sure, he's not the biggest guy in the world as far as a mass monster, but he's enjoyed a very long career, and he's still competing. Actually, this year he's going to be competing again at the age of 47, and he's even better than he is here. So sure, not a mass monster, but here he is at the age of 47, still enjoying a long career, enjoying himself, and still making improvements to his physique. And it's an overall an NPC, and he's still competitive. Um, Sure, here I am again battling these guys in the huge heavyweight to the left, the light heavyweight in green in the middle, and these guys are just really big dudes, and they're conditioned quite well. And being a natural athlete, you can see I was kind of holding my own here. And sure, I wasn't bigger than them, but bodybuilding again is not all about having mass. It's about having symmetry. It's about having conditioning and presentation. All three of those go hand in hand. And the thing that also talk about here a little bit is that no cutting water, no loading potassium, no none of that crazy stuff you see a lot of NPC guys. So backstage at this show, um, we saw a lot of guys looking at us weird when we were adding salt to our food and drinking and actually had water bottles in our hands. They were looking at us like, wow, these guys are taking in sodium and they're drinking water. So yeah, things are do you do things much differently as a natural bodybuilder than as compared to guys in the NPC. But yeah, again, it's just I'm trying with this video. I'm trying to show that sure, maybe I'm not a mass monster, but you can see here I'm weighing about 170, 175, somewhere in there, and I'm holding my own. And bodybuilding is all about illusions. It's not always about just overall sheer mass. Symmetry again is so important in the sport. Symmetry can carry you a long, long way. You add conditioning to that and good posing, and you could do well at NPC shows. You're competitive with guys that are much much bigger. Um, Actually, in not this show, but the 2006 San Francisco show where I was 156 pounds, much lighter than this, 15 pounds lighter. And in that overall, I was against the super heavyweight who was I want to say 225, 230 pounds. Big mass monster. Great, yeah, just shredded too. And I was against the heavyweight who weighed about 210, 215. Um, I actually beat the super heavyweight and actually lost to the heavyweight by 2 points for that overall. But I remember backstage at that 2006 show, um, I was warming up for the overall in the super heavyweight. He was kind of an arrogant type personality. He came up to me. He's like, "What are you still doing here?" I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm warming up for the overall." And he's like, "You're in the overall?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I won the middleweights." And he kind of gave me that snickery look on his face, like, oh, "Okay, really? Now this little guy's in this overall." But once the scorecards came out, sure enough, I beat him, and I was 50 pounds. I was what 156. He was 230. So that's almost like 75 pounds bigger than me, but I still beat him. So again, to the guy who made the comment about it's taken years to make that kind of progress, and you're not going to see much progress after a few years. I'm going to jump on a cycle. Um, well, sometimes jumping on cycles not always the answer, and it's when you're natural, you make progress year in year out. The muscle gets much more mature, and if you have good symmetry and good muscle development, it's not about how big you are. It's about the overall package. And as you can see here, I'm getting pushed around a little bit, but I was trying to hold my ground. But yeah, it's more than mass, and you also have to figure, you know, your overall health too. Like I said, how many of those guys from the early 90s are still around on a bodybuilding stage? Not too many. But here I am, been competing since 1993, and we're in 2013, and I'm going to keep competing probably well into my 50s. And there you are. There's Phil Heath giving out the overall sword to, unfortunately, not me. It was the light heavyweight in green there in the middle. He deserved the victory. He was big, he was conditioned, and he was pretty symmetrical. So more power to him. I had a blast at that show, had fun, and I held my own, and I was proud to compete with my brother.